Have you ever come across a story that was so perfectly written, so deliberately confusing that more than 100 years later nobody can agree on what really happened? Well, that's The Turn of the Screw, and for over a century, its central mystery has been a complete puzzle. So today, let's see if we can crack the case.
And hey, that's not just me saying it. That quote, it's from the prologue of the book itself. It's basically a promise to the reader of the sheer terror that's about to unfold. And trust me, it delivers. The real question is, what kind of terror are we actually dealing with here?
Okay, so before we can put on our detective hats, we really need to understand the scene of the crime. So let's do a quick rundown of the chilling story at the very heart of this whole mystery.
So our story comes from a master of psychological fiction, a guy named Henry James. And the setup seems pretty straightforward. A young, maybe a little naive governess gets hired to look after two orphan kids, Miles and Flora. They're at this remote English country estate called Bly. Picture this. It's beautiful, it's idyllic, and it is completely, utterly isolated. As she's settling in, though, things start to get weird. The governess starts seeing two figures haunting the grounds. A man on a tower, a woman standing by a lake. She eventually finds out these are apparitions of two former employees, a valet named Peter Quint and the old governess, Miss Jessel. And here's the real kicker, the turn of the screw, if you will. They're both dead.
And this right here is where the story just splits into two completely different tales. It's like a literary cold case that's been baffling readers for generations, and we are about to dive deep into all the evidence.
This is the absolute heart of the matter. Are the ghosts of Quint and Jessel some kind of real external evil trying to corrupt these poor children? Or are these visions just hallucinations, something born from the governess's own fracturing mind? Let's open up the case files.
All right, first up, let's open the case file for the prosecution. This is the argument that the horror at Bly is all too real, and those ghosts are a genuine supernatural threat.
So if you're on team the ghosts are real, you've got some solid evidence. Proponents of this theory point right to Henry James himself. He actually said the story was inspired by an account he'd heard about kids in a country house being visited by the spirits of evil former servants. So the argument goes, James was just trying to write a really good, really scary, classic fairy tale. In this version of events, the governess is a hero, right? She's a savior, fighting this huge battle for the souls of these children against actual demonic forces. Plus, the book's prologue goes way out of its way to tell us she's a sane, credible person, which would make her account totally trustworthy.
But what if we've been looking at the wrong suspect this whole time? Let's open up the second case file, the one where the real source of evil isn't a ghost at all, but the very person who's telling us the story.
Now, this theory really took off with the rise of Freudian psychology, and it completely flips the story on its head. It argues that the novella is actually a masterful study of a really troubled mind. See, the governess is totally infatuated with her handsome, rich, and completely unavailable boss. In this view, all her repressed feelings start manifesting as hallucinations. Think about it. The ghost of Quinn first shows up on a tower, and Miss Jessel appears by a lake. Both are classic Freudian symbols for male and female sexuality. So in this version, she's not a savior at all. She's an unwitting tormentor, projecting all of her own fears onto these innocent kids.
So which is it? Is it a ghost story or a psychological drama? Well, the genius of Henry James is that this confusion isn't some kind of mistake, it's the entire point. He designed it to be this way.
James uses this brilliant literary device that critics call a reflecting consciousness. What that means is the entire story is told from the governess's point of view. We are literally trapped inside her head. We only ever see what she claims to see, and we only know what she's thinking.
And that is the core of the whole problem. No one else in the story ever says, yep, I see the ghosts too. There's no outside narrator to pop in and tell us what's really going on. We have to take her word for it. But can we? This narrative trap he's created is the engine of the story's non-stop horror. We, the reader, are forced to decide who or what we're going to believe.
So, after looking at all the evidence from both sides, the case is still wide open. The final verdict? Well, that's up to you, the jury.
It really all boils down to two interpretations that just can't both be true. On one side, you've got a classic tale of the supernatural, a brave hero fighting actual demons to save innocent children. On the other side, you have this chilling psychological study of a woman's descent into madness, where the real danger to the kids is the very person trying to save them.
And the crazy thing is, the text perfectly supports both readings.
So here's what it all comes down to. Where does the true horror of this story really lie? Does it come from evil spirits haunting children from beyond the grave? Or does it come from the terrifying possibility that the most destructive evil of all is the one that lives inside our own minds? The story gives us no easy answers, just a perfect, chilling question.